In the West, wealth and power usually wear corporate names. Apple, Amazon, Exxon, BlackRock. They rise, they fall, they get replaced. But in Asia, power doesn't fade with quarterly earnings. It inherits itself, and from father to son, from uncle to nephew, and sometimes to a loyal apprentice who becomes family by law. Welcome to the money stake, where money, power, and history collide. And nothing is ever as simple as it looks. Because in much of Asia, business isn't just business. It's bloodline. The biggest companies here aren't corporations in the Western sense. Dynasties. Behind every logo, there's a patriarch. Behind every CEO, a family council. And behind every fortune lies a story of survival. Sometimes brutal, sometimes brilliant, always personal. How Asia's family capitalism was born. To understand this, imagine a continent where capitalism had to be rebuilt from zero. Not with Wall Street rules, but through families that acted as banks, regulators, and safety nets all at once. After World War II, Japan was devastated. China was in revolution. Korea was divided. Southeast Asia was still under colonial rule. There were barely any functioning markets. No real banking system. Very little trust. So people turned inward, to the only network that still worked, their own blood. If a cousin gave you money, it wasn't debt, it was duty. If your brother managed a warehouse, no contract was needed. If a nephew betrayed the business, the shame could last generations. Asia rebuilt not through institutions, but through relationships. From that web of loyalty emerged a new kind of capitalism. Power wasn't measured in stock price, but in trust. Where the West had the invisible hand of the market, Asia had the invisible hand of the patriarch. The rise of the patriarchs. By the 1950s, these patriarchs and merchants, migrants, survivors began to rise. They traded rice, textiles, plastics, shipping, anything that moved. Governments needed stability. Families needed opportunity. So they partnered. The state provided protection, loans, licenses. The families delivered loyalty, speed, growth. This alliance launched the Asian economic miracle, decades of expansion that lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty. But the deal had a price. Loyalty in exchange for power. Power that doesn't end with elections. Power that outlives governments. Control that never leaves the family. Unlike the West, in where shareholders and boards rule, Asian families built never-lose control structures. Holding company, family trust. A loop that always ends with the patriarch. On paper, he may own just 10 or 20%. In reality, he controls everything. Control means deciding who belongs, and belonging isn't limited to blood. In Japan and Korea, loyal executives are often legally adopted as heirs. Not children, grown men in their 30s or 40s, chosen for devotion and competence. More than 90% of adoptions in Japan are for business succession. This is corporate immortality. The empire must stay intact.